What if I told you that your soul knows exactly when you're going to die? Months, sometimes even years before it happens. What if the universe has been sending you gentle hints all along, getting you ready for the biggest change you'll ever go through? And what if one of America's most famous psychics found 5 clear signs that death is coming? Signs that aren't about being sick or getting hurt, but about your soul getting ready to go back home. I'm talking about discoveries that go beyond what doctors can tell you, beyond what doctors can see, beyond what science knows right now about what happens to our minds when we die. Because based on these ideas, death isn't something that just happens to you. It's something your soul actively gets ready for. And if you know what to watch for, you can see when this getting ready has started. This isn't about being scared. This isn't about thinking scary thoughts. This is about understanding the biggest change every person will face, and how knowing these signs can actually change how you live right now. So if you've ever wondered whether there's more to death than just your heart stopping, if you've asked yourself whether your mind really ends when your body stops working, if you felt that mysterious feeling pulling you towards something bigger, stay with me. Because what you're about to learn might change not just how you think about death, but how you feel about every moment of life you have left. The universal fear of death. Let me ask you something that might make you feel uncomfortable. When was the last time you really thought about your own death? Not the general idea, not the thinking question, but the actual fact that someday your mind as you know it will face the ultimate change. Maybe you push these thoughts away. Maybe they sneak in during quiet times, late at night when you can't sleep, or when you're sick, or when someone close to you dies. Maybe you feel that flutter of fear, that scary feeling that whispers, what if this is all there is? You're not alone in this. Death is the one thing that connects every person who has ever lived. Yet it stays the biggest mystery we face. We can get ready for almost everything else in life. Job changes, relationships, money problems, but death. Most of us live pretending it won't happen, hoping that if we don't think about it, somehow it won't come. But what if this way of thinking is taking something precious away from you? What if understanding the signs of coming death, not to be scared of them, but to know them, could actually give you the best possible way to prepare for the journey ahead? 'Cause here's what most people don't know. According to old wisdom teachings and new research about the mind, death isn't a sudden interruption of life. It's a carefully planned change that your soul starts getting ready for long before your body shows any signs of stopping. And if you know how to read the signs, you can take part in this preparation instead of being surprised by it. If this idea interests you, if you're ready to think about death not as an enemy, but as a teacher, I need you to like this video right now, because what we're about to explore together takes bravery. It means you have to face the one thing that's true for all people. And when you hit that like button, you're telling me you're ready for this talk. The awakening begins. The awakening starts. But before we jump into these 5 important signs, you need to understand something basic about the mind and death that will change everything you think you know. Most people believe the mind comes from the brain, that when the brain stops working, awareness simply ends, like turning off a light switch. But what if that's backwards? What if the mind is first and the brain is just its temporary tool? What if awareness exists on its own, without needing a physical body, and death is actually the moment when the mind grows back into its natural state? This isn't just thinking about ideas. This is what thousands of near-death experiences show. This is what old wisdom teachings have taught for thousands of years. And this is what the deeper understanding of these death signs shows. Your soul, that main part of you that you truly are, doesn't die when your body stops working. Changes, it grows. Goes back to a way of being that's actually more natural than physical life. But here's the important point. This change doesn't start at the moment your body dies. It starts much earlier, as your soul starts to let go of its connection to the physical world and get ready to go back to pure mind. Think of it like a butterfly getting ready to come out of its cocoon. The change doesn't happen in a second. There's a process, a preparation, a slow shift from one way of being to another. And during this preparation time, your soul sends signals, not just to your body, but to your mind. Signs that the big change is starting. Invitations to take part on purpose in the most important journey you'll ever take. These aren't signs to be scared of. They're signs to see, respect, and work with. Because when you understand what's happening, when you can see the preparation process clearly, you can face death not as someone helpless, but as someone who's taking part on purpose in your own spiritual growth. The first sign, the pull to be alone. The first sign that your soul is getting ready for change is gentle, but clear once you know how to see it. You start to feel a deep, hard-to-explain pull toward being alone. Not sadness, not avoiding people, not pulling away because of pain or sickness. This is different. This is a special drawing inward, a need to spend time alone that feels almost spiritual. Have you ever noticed how animals often want to be alone when they are getting ready to die? They find a quiet place away from the noise and activity of daily life, and they turn their attention inward. This isn't about hiding or suffering alone. It's about reaching a deeper state of mind that needs silence and space. The same thing happens with human souls as they start getting ready for change. You might find yourself saying no to social plans that you would normally enjoy, not because you don't love the people in your life, but because something deeper is calling your attention. You might feel pulled to spend hours in quiet thinking, or find yourself naturally creating more space between yourself and the business of everyday life. This pull toward being alone has an important purpose. It's your soul's way of starting the process of letting go of needing outside things. It's creating the inner space needed for the big letting go that death requires. But here's what's beautiful about seeing this sign. When you understand what's happening, instead of fighting this pull or feeling bad about it, you can respect it. You can create purposeful space for this deepening. You can use this time for thinking, for healing unfinished emotional stuff, for connecting with what's most important in your life. Think about this for a moment. When did you last feel truly pulled to be alone? Not forced isolation, but a real desire to be alone with your thoughts, your feelings, your deeper self. If you're feeling this pull right now, or if you've noticed it in someone you love, let me know in the comments. Write solitude if this matches your experience, because seeing this pattern is the first step in understanding the deeper wisdom of your soul's preparation process. The second sign, the letting go of attachments. The second sign is even more important, and it often surprises people when they first see it. You start to naturally let go of attachments that once seemed necessary to who you are. This doesn't happen all at once. It's a slow process that can happen over months or even years. But once it starts, it's clear. You might find yourself losing interest in things that once mattered deeply to you. That collection you spent years building, the expensive items you worked so hard to buy, the material symbols of success that once defined who you thought you were. They start to feel empty, meaningless, but it goes deeper than material things. You might notice that old anger starts to feel pointless. Arguments that once used up your energy seem small and unimportant. The need to be right, to defend your ego, to keep up certain images of yourself. These drives start to fade, even positive attachments start to loosen. Goals that once motivated you might lose their hold. Future plans that once excited you might feel less interesting. Not because you're becoming sad or giving up on life, but because something in you is realizing that these outside things aren't who you really are. This is your soul starting the process of remembering its true nature. Because here's what happens when the mind gets ready to grow beyond physical life. It starts to pull energy away from the temporary identities and attachments that belong only to this lifetime. It starts to reconnect with what's eternal, what's essential, what travels with you beyond the physical world. And what are those eternal things? Love, wisdom, compassion, connection, the growth of the mind itself. You might find yourself becoming more interested in these deeper qualities and less interested in the surface dramas that once seemed so important. You might feel pulled to heal relationships rather than win arguments, to show love rather than pile up achievements, to understand rather than be understood. This is your soul's way of getting ready for the change by focusing on what's truly valuable, what you'll take with you when the physical world falls away. But here's the transforming part. When you see this process and work with it on purpose instead of feeling sad about losing old attachments, you can celebrate the coming out of your deeper self. You can use this time to purposefully line up with what's most important in your being. The third sign, the expansion of perception. Now we come to something that might sound impossible if you haven't felt it yourself. As the soul gets ready for change, seeing often starts to grow beyond the normal boundaries of physical reality. You might start having dreams that feel more real than being awake. Dreams where you meet loved ones who have died who seem to be getting you ready for something. Dreams of places that feel like home in a way that nowhere on earth ever has. You might start to sense presences around you, not scary or disturbing, but comforting, as if beings you can't quite see are coming closer, offering help for the journey ahead. Some people report sudden increases in gut feeling abilities, knowing things you shouldn't know, feeling the emotions of others more strongly, having insights about people or situations that turn out to be surprisingly accurate. Others experience what can only be described as glimpses of other dimensions. Moments when the veil between worlds seems to thin, and you catch sight of realities that normally stay hidden. This isn't seeing things that aren't there. This isn't mental sickness. This is the mind starting to work at frequencies that are closer to its natural state. Frequencies that aren't limited by the physical brain's normal filtering systems. Think of it this way. Throughout your life, your mind has been focused through the narrow lens of physical seeing. But as the soul gets ready for change, this lens starts to widen. You start to see parts of reality that were always there, but were previously filtered out. And here's why this happens. The dimension you're getting ready to enter, what different teachings call the astral plane, the afterlife, the realm of pure mind, works at these expanded frequencies. Your soul is starting to tune into its future home. But there's something important to understand about this sign. These expanded seeings aren't random or meaningless. They're specifically designed to get you ready for what's coming. They're glimpses of the reality you'll live in after physical death. They're your soul's way of making you familiar with the expanded awareness that waits. If you've been experiencing anything like this, if your dreams have become more vivid, if you felt presences around you, if your gut feeling has suddenly become more accurate, don't dismiss it. Don't let anyone convince you it's just your imagination. These experiences are sacred. They're part of your soul's preparation process, and seeing them for what they are can help you work with this expanded awareness instead of being scared by it. Have you noticed your seeing growing in ways that are hard to explain? If so, share this video with someone who might understand. Because these experiences can feel lonely when you don't have a way to understand them. But when you realize they're part of a natural preparation process, everything changes. The fourth sign, the life review need. The fourth sign is something that happens so commonly that most people don't even notice it's a sign at all. You become driven to review your life, not just remembering, not just nostalgia, but a deep, almost obsessive need to look at, understand, and make sense of your entire life from a higher view. You might find yourself thinking constantly about important moments from your past, relationships that shaped you, choices that defined your path, mistakes you made, and lessons you learned. But you're not just remembering these experiences. You're reviewing them with a wisdom and view you didn't have when they originally happened. This often shows up as a sudden desire to reconnect with people from your past, to heal old wounds, to express thanks that was never spoken, to ask for forgiveness or to offer it, to finish conversations that were left unfinished. You might feel an urgent need to tell your story, to share the lessons you've learned, to pass on the wisdom you've gained, to make sure that the meaning you found in your life doesn't die with you. This isn't random nostalgia. This is your soul doing what near-death experience researchers call the life review, a process that usually happens during the change itself, but which often starts months or years before physical death. And here's why this happens. Your soul knows that the mind continues after physical death, but it also knows that the specific view you've gained in this lifetime, the unique combination of experiences, lessons, and growth that make up your individual journey, is precious and temporary. So it starts the process of putting these experiences together, of pulling out their main meaning, of changing lived experience into eternal wisdom. But here's the important part. When you see this need for what it is, you can take part in it on purpose. Instead of being driven by vague feelings of urgency or regret, you can actively do the life review process. You can reach out to people who matter. You can heal relationships that need healing. You can show love that needs showing. You can finish the business of this lifetime while you still have the chance. This isn't about getting ready to die in sadness. This is about getting ready to change with completeness, with peace, with the knowledge that you've pulled every bit of meaning and love from the amazing gift of this human experience. And here's something beautiful. When you take part on purpose in this life review process, it doesn't just get you ready for death. It changes how you live, because seeing your life from this higher view helps you understand what really matters, what was truly important, what deserves your attention in the time you have left. If you're feeling this need to review, to reconnect, to heal and complete, I want you to comment below with the word review, because this is sacred work. This is soul work, and seeing it for what it is can help you approach it with the respect it deserves. The fifth sign, the pull toward home. And now we come to the most important sign of all, the one that once you feel it, leaves no doubt that your soul is getting ready for the greatest journey of all. You start to feel a deep, hard-to-explain longing for home, but not any earthly home you've ever known. This isn't nostalgia for childhood. This isn't missing a place you used to live. This is something totally different. It's a longing so deep, so strong that it seems to come from the very center of your being. People describe it in different ways. Some say it feels like homesickness for a place they've never been. Others describe it as a pull toward something they can't name, but somehow recognize. Still, others speak of feeling like a traveler who's been away far too long and is finally getting ready to return. This longing often shows up in unexpected ways. You might find yourself staring at the sky more often, feeling pulled to its hugeness. You might feel mysteriously moved by music, art, or natural beauty, in ways that bring you to tears. You might experience moments of such deep peace that they feel like memories of where you truly belong. And here's what's really happening. Your soul is starting to remember its true home. Not the physical world where you've been temporarily living, but the dimension of pure mind from which you came and to which you're getting ready to return. Because according to the deepest spiritual teachings and the most important near-death experiences, physical life is actually a temporary journey. We're souls having a human experience, not humans who might have souls. And as the physical journey gets close to finishing, the soul starts to feel the pull of its eternal home. This isn't sad. This isn't tragic. This is actually the most natural thing in the world. It's like a child who's been away at camp all summer, starting to feel excited about going home to family. The camp was wonderful. The experiences were valuable. But home is where you truly belong. But here's what makes this sign so transforming. When you see this longing for what it is, instead of being confused or scared by it, you can welcome it. You can allow yourself to feel the deep peace that comes with knowing you're getting ready to return to your true nature. And something amazing happens when you stop fighting this pull toward home. You start to experience that eternal home, even while you're still in physical form. You start to access the peace, the love, the expanded awareness that waits for you. You get glimpses of who you really are beneath all the temporary identities and roles you've played in this lifetime. The deeper understanding. But let me talk about something that might be bothering you right now. Because if you're seeing these signs in yourself or someone you love, you might be feeling afraid. You might be thinking, does this mean death is about to happen? Should I be panicking? The answer is both simpler and more complex than you might expect. These signs don't necessarily mean death is days or even months away. The soul's preparation process can happen over years. Some people feel these signs strongly and then continue living full, meaningful lives for a long time. Others might feel them more gently over long periods. The timeline isn't the point. The preparation is the point. Because here's what these signs are really about. They're your soul's way of making sure that when the change does come, whether it's next week or next decade, you're ready. Not just physically or practically ready, but spiritually and emotionally ready. And being ready doesn't mean giving up on death or giving up on life. It means facing whatever time you have left with greater awareness, deeper purpose, and more real connection to what really matters. When you see these signs, you're being given a gift. The gift of purposeful preparation. The gift of time to line up with your deeper truth. The gift of opportunity to live your remaining time, however long that might be, with amazing presence and meaning. Think about this. Most people spend their entire lives unconsciously avoiding thoughts of death, only to be caught completely unprepared when it comes. But these signs offer you something different. They offer you the chance to face death as a purposeful spiritual practice, rather than an unwelcome surprise. And here's the opposite truth. When you prepare purposefully for death, you often find that you start living more fully than you ever have before. Because knowing that this physical experience is temporary makes every moment precious, every relationship sacred, every experience a gift to be fully received. So if you're seeing these signs, don't go back into fear. Step forward into presence. Use this awareness to deepen your relationships, to heal what needs healing, to show what needs showing, to become who you truly are. If this view is shifting something in you, if you're starting to see these signs, not as warnings but as invitations, I want you to subscribe to this channel right now, because what we're exploring here is just the beginning of understanding the mind, death, and the important journey of the soul. And I want to make sure you don't miss any of this exploration. The practical wisdom. So what do you do with this knowledge? How do you live differently when you understand these signs? First, if you're experiencing these signs yourself, respect them. Don't fight the pull toward being alone. Use it for thinking and spiritual deepening. Don't fight the loosening of attachments. Celebrate your growing freedom from what doesn't truly matter. Don't dismiss expanded seeings. Explore them with curiosity and openness. Don't avoid the life review. Take part in it purposefully and completely. Don't fear the longing for home. Let it remind you of your true nature. Second, if you're seeing these signs in someone you love, support them with understanding rather than fear. Don't try to drag them back into attachments they're naturally letting go. Don't dismiss their growing perceptions as confusion or sickness. Don't stop them from doing the life review process. Instead, take part with them. Help them complete what needs completing. Join them in exploring what's opening up. Third, whether you're experiencing these signs now or not, let this knowledge change how you face life itself. Because understanding the preparation process for death can actually teach you how to live more purposefully. Start practicing the letting go of unnecessary attachments now. Start growing being alone for spiritual thinking. Open yourself to expanded seeing and gut-feeling awareness. Take part regularly in reviewing your life for meaning and completion. And most importantly, start seeing that deep longing for home that exists in every human heart. The longing to return to your true nature even while you're still in a body. These aren't just death preparation practices. They're mind expansion practices. They're ways of living that line you up with your deepest truth and highest potential. And here's something beautiful. When you live this way, death loses its terror. It becomes not an ending to be feared, but a graduation to be looked forward to. Not a failure of the body, but a completion of a sacred journey. You start to understand that you're not just a physical being who might have a soul. You're an eternal soul who chose to have this physical experience. And when the experience is complete, you return home to the huge mind from which you came, made better by everything you've learned and loved along the way. The sacred view. Let me share something with you that might completely shift your view on these signs and on death itself. What if these 5 signs aren't warnings that something terrible is coming? What if they're actually proof of something amazing? Proof that the mind is eternal, that love goes beyond death, that your deepest core is indestructible. Think about it this way. If the mind truly ended at death, why would there be any preparation process at all? Why would the soul start loosening attachments, growing awareness and longing for home? Why would there be this slow, purposeful preparation for something that was simply going to be nothing? The very fact of these signs suggests that the mind continues beyond physical death. That death is a doorway, not a wall. that something in you knows exactly where you're going because you've been there before. This completely changes how we understand not just death but life itself. If your soul is eternal, then every experience you've had in this lifetime, every joy, every sorrow, every lesson, every moment of love adds to your eternal growth. Nothing is wasted. Nothing is meaningless. Every single moment has been part of your soul's journey toward greater wisdom, greater love, greater mind. And if death is actually a return home rather than an ending, then these signs aren't tragic. They're sacred. They're proof that the universe works with such deep wisdom and compassion that it gets you ready gently, slowly, lovingly for the most important change you'll ever make. This view doesn't make death small or easy. The loss of physical form, the separation from loved ones, the end of familiar experience, these are real and important, but they're not ultimate. They're not final. They're part of a larger journey that your soul has been on long before this lifetime, and will continue long after. And seeing these signs allows you to take part purposefully in this journey. To face death not as someone helpless to biological failure, but as a soul finishing one part of an eternal adventure and getting ready to start the next. When you truly understand this, everything changes. Fear changes into curiosity. Regret changes into gratitude. Despair changes into wonder. You start to see your entire life, including its ending, as part of a magnificent design that's far more beautiful and meaningful than you ever imagined. The call to awareness. But here's what I need you to understand. This information isn't just for people who are actively dying. It's for everyone who's alive. Because whether you see these signs in yourself now or not, your soul is constantly getting you ready for the eventual change. Every moment of spiritual growth, every letting go of ego, every expansion of love, every glimpse of your deeper nature. These are all part of the same preparation process. You don't have to wait until death is about to happen to start living purposefully. You can start now. You can start letting go of attachments that don't serve your highest good. You can grow the being alone necessary for spiritual development. You can open your seeing to expanded possibilities. You can regularly review your life for meaning and completion. You can acknowledge the longing for spiritual home that lives in your heart. And when you do this, something amazing happens. You don't just get ready for a peaceful death. You create a more purposeful life. You line up with your soul's purpose. You live from your deepest truth. You love more fully, forgive more easily, and feel more joy. The practices that get you ready for death are the same practices that wake you up to life. This is the ultimate opposite truth. By purposefully getting ready for death, you finally learn how to truly live. So let me ask you, what would change in your life if you really understood that the mind is eternal, that love never dies, that you're a soul on a journey rather than a body headed toward ending? How would you treat the people in your life if you knew that the love you share goes beyond physical life? How would you spend your time if you understood that what you're really doing here is developing your ability for mind, wisdom, and compassion? How would you face challenges if you knew they were opportunities for soul growth rather than random suffering? If you're ready to explore these questions, if you're ready to live from this deeper understanding, let me know in the comments. Right conscious, if you're committed to facing life and death with greater awareness. Because this isn't just thinking information, it's a call to change. The ultimate truth, the ultimate truth. As we come to the end of our journey together, I want to leave you with the most important truth of all. These 5 signs of coming death aren't really about death at all. They're about awakening. They're about remembering who you truly are. They're about seeing that the physical world, as beautiful and meaningful as it is just one dimension of your existence. When you understand this, death loses its sting. Not because it becomes easy or painless, but because it becomes meaningful. It becomes part of a larger story of the mind, exploring itself through countless forms and experiences. Your life with all its struggles and wins, its loves and losses, its moments of despair and greatness is not a random accident in an uncaring universe. It's a sacred journey taken by an eternal soul for the purpose of growth, learning, and the expansion of love itself. And these signs that we've explored, they're proof that even death, especially death, is surrounded by wisdom, compassion, and careful preparation. Nothing in this universe is abandoned or forgotten. No mind is lost or wasted. Every soul is supported through every change. This changes everything about how you can live your life right now. Instead of running from thoughts of death, you can welcome them as reminders of what's truly important. Instead of holding desperately to temporary things, you can hold them lightly while investing in what's eternal. Instead of living in fear of ending, you can live in celebration of the amazing journey you're on. You're not just a biological organism struggling to survive. You are an eternal mind having a temporary physical experience. You are a soul on a journey of awakening. You are love learning to know itself more fully. And death is simply the moment when you take off the costume of this particular lifetime and remember the huge, eternal, shining being you have always been. The signs we've talked about today aren't warnings to fear. They're invitations to awareness. They're opportunities to line up with your deepest truth. They're reminders that you are so much more than you've been taught to believe. So live boldly, love deeply, grow purposefully, and when the time comes to change, know that you're not ending. You're returning home to the infinite source of mind from which you came, and which you have never truly left. This is the ultimate truth about death. It's not the opposite of life. It's the completion of life. It's the graduation that every soul is working toward. And seeing the signs of its coming is one of the most sacred seeings you can have. Your soul knows the way home. Trust it. Follow its guidance, and let that trust change not just how you face death, but how you welcome every precious moment of the life you're living right now. Because in the end, life and death are just two movements in the same eternal dance of mind. And you are the dancer. Dance beautifully. Dance purposefully. Dance with the knowledge that every step is sacred, every movement is meaningful, and every change is a doorway to even greater love and awareness. This is who you are. This is what waits for you. And this is why there is nothing to fear and everything to celebrate, even in the face of our most mysterious and important change. Welcome home, soul. You've never really left.